Do you know why the $1,200, the $600, and the $1,400 stimulus checks were considered one of the worst pieces of legislation that the United States government could have actually provided? Well, it was because these checks went to everybody. This was a blanket approach to go and fix the issues that we're seeing in our economy. Well, something else happened today. There's a new government bailout, which is going to cause more problems. And I want to address what this bailout is. And guess what? This is going to cost about $2,100 per taxpayer. That means you and I are going to have to pay an additional $2,100 whether we get this bailout or not. So, I will address what's going to happen in today's video. But first, I just want to thank you guys for watching. One thing that you can do if you enjoy these daily uploads, do me a favor, go ahead, hit that like button for the YouTube algorithm, and let's continue. Because here's what I can tell you. Today, and I addressed this last night, I addressed this morning, that President Biden was going to cancel $10,000 for most borrowers with student loan debt. He's also going to cancel up to $20,000 in Pell Grants, as long as those borrowers can display what they say exceptional financial need. Now, do you see how this is just ripe for fraud? But President Biden also extended the moratorium on student loan payments through December 31st, which we kind of saw that coming. But something else that he did, he capped repayment of undergraduate loans at 5% of the borrower's monthly income. Okay, so if somebody makes $1,000 a month, they're going to be capped at $50 per month as a loan payment. Okay, you make $2,000 a month, you're capped at $100. You make $4,000 per month, you're capped at $200. You kind of see how that works. So that right there is a very good piece of legislation. According to multiple economists, that piece, the capping repayments of undergraduate loans at just 5%, is a huge win. But it also doesn't really impact our economy. But what does impact our economy, and this is something that's scary, is many people or many economists are saying that we saw, and again, this is something that everybody's worried about, is inflation. Well, how does this student loan payment pause? How does canceling up to $10,000 in student debt, how does that actually affect inflation? Well, we do have some numbers, and I'm going to share with you towards the end of this video, but right now, the biggest worry that economists have is economists said that we saw downward pressure on inflation through the month of June and July, and we saw this because they were predicting that we were going to see this simply because student loan borrowers were worried that they were going to have to restart their payments in the month of September. So what were they doing? They were saving money. They were not spending. They were waiting until their payments were due. Okay, that takes us to today, where the student loan payment pause gets extended another 4 months. Up to $10,000 is for regular federal student loans is going to be forgiven. So now guess what? Now economists are worried that now there's upward pressure on inflation. We went from 8.6 to 9.1. Now we're back to 8.5% inflation. Well, they're worried that we could see inflation not this month, okay? Because this month is over in 7 days. So we're not going to see much upward pressure on inflation for August. But come September, which we won't see September's readings until October, that's when we're going to see inflation. That's when we're pretty much going to be smacked in the mouth, because we're going to have to pay more money on things like food, right? Rent, utilities. Again, I'm sorry, but it looks like we're going to be paying more money for the foreseeable future. Now, I want to talk about what the Biden administration's plan was. And the Biden administration's plan, or their goal, was to rid borrowers of this unsurmountable debt. Now, there's another reason why Democrats waited, over a year to provide this relief. Remember, Nancy Pelosi said what was it, early part of 2021, Nancy Pelosi said that she didn't believe President Biden had the authority to cancel their student debt. Well, you want to know why Democrats waited so long? Democrats waited because it gave them another kind of ace up their sleeve. The midterm elections are in just 75 days. 75 days. Do you know that the President Biden's polling numbers are now starting to go back up? Over the past week, his numbers started ticking back up. Guess why? Last week, we heard that he was going to have an answer on the student debt repayment and student loan forgiveness this week. Does that kind of seem a little bit odd? And I guarantee you, and you better believe, younger voters and progressives, they're going to look at this as a very enticing offer to vote Democrats very soon. And again, I'm not here to say, okay, look at this as it's just a political move. But I think it's very interesting that couldn't we have given this student loan forgiveness? Couldn't we have done this back in 2021 when we did not have 8.5% inflation or 9.1% inflation? What has me worried isn't that all, was it 45 million Americans are going to get potentially up to $10,000 in debt forgiveness? That's not what has me worried. What has me worried is they're going to get it when we are already seeing pressure, upward pressure on inflation. It's not a good look. It's not a good time. And again, if we see our supply chain disruptions continue, which the expectation is they will, we're going to be paying more. But here's something else, and something else has been going on, and right now, I think many people aren't really aware of this. And again, it's that upward pressure on inflation. But the truth is that giving people money or taking away a debt will only give them more resources to go out and spend money. Let me give you some numbers really quick. The Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget says that this plan is going to cost the federal government roughly $600 billion. Okay, no more. But White House reports say that this is not going to cost any more than $300 billion. $300 billion. Yet the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget says $600 billion. Well, there's also a handful of reports that say no, that this is actually going to cost the federal government right about $900 to $950 billion. That is almost what we spent on the bipartisan infrastructure package, which is $1.2 trillion. But out of that $1.2 trillion, I think we're only spending like $400 to $600 billion over a 10-year period. Now, here's what is somewhat concerning. Multiple economists say that this is going to provide upward pressure to inflation in the short term. And in the short term, they expect to see 0.1 to 0.3 percentage points of an increase. But, key word here, this is short term. They say there will be more additional pressure over the long term. That has me worried. That has me worried when inflation is at 8.5%. But again, the biggest factor here, and the biggest factor that's still in play, is the extension of the student loan payment pause. And I say this because economists are worried that, and they worried before, that pausing these payments even longer, it's only going to put upward pressure on inflation. And again, and I talked about this earlier, but many said that they believe the reason why inflation went down in July was simply because all these borrowers were worried that their payment pause was about to expire, so they had to pretty much just hoard cash because at some point they're going to have to make these payments. But now, these millions of borrowers have an additional 4 months that they can wait and they can continue to spend their money once again. And if they do this, it's going to drive up inflation. It's going to drive it back up. And just from today, okay, and I don't want to say that, these reports are 100% correct, but just from the reports today, the expectation is that not in August. In August, our inflation will likely drop, and we'll get this report in like 2 weeks. But for August, it will likely drop. But come September, that's when we're expecting to see higher inflation as of today. Okay, so I just wanted to fill you in on what's going on. I know there's a lot of different reports out there. There's a lot of different news stations covering this breaking news. Essentially, it's not really breaking news. We've known that this is going to happen. I addressed this yesterday, I think twice. Addressed this morning. I addressed it just now again. So I promise I'm not going to continue to beat this dead horse, but we know it's happening. Right? For those that are going to get this debt cancellation, first off, congratulations. Hopefully this really does help you out. But the problem that many people see is what's happening right now is this was just another blanket approach. The problem here is that the federal government had over a year to fix, finalize, go back and forth, create some just great, massive relief plan. But they didn't do that. They waited, and again, they waited so long that they did another blanket approach, pretty much give everybody this relief when essentially not everybody needs it. Not everybody needs it. Okay? So if you have any questions on what's going on here, please ask your questions down in the comment section below. And one thing that I want to ask is, if you can, let me know your thoughts. Do you think this is a good plan? Do you think it's a bad plan? Are you upset? Maybe you missed out on this. Let me know down in the comment section below. How do you feel about what just happened today? All right? So again, thank you guys for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.